Cove twisted the dial this way and that before stumbling onto a channel with a song he seemed to like. That was a rare gift from the fates in a sea of static, strange radio jockeys and grating tunes. His face immediately brightened at the sound of it, and he drummed his fingers along the bottom of the steering wheel happily. Sitting back in his seat, he bopped his head and shimmied his shoulders in time to the tune, all while mouthing along to the words. See, this is what I would be doing too, like up to the next level. Occasionally, he even lifted one hand for the wheel to gesture with his fingers for a specific line. See, that's what I would be doing. You smiled, you chuckled softly, you shook your head, you sang along, you ignored it. Oh, I would be singing along to this jam. Cove raised a pleased eyebrow at your vocalization. Emboldened by you, Cove decided to speak the words rather than lip-syncing. Your voices mixed together, slowly creeping louder and louder as you belted out the words of the song. I'm wondering how good of a singer that Cove is. Every now and then a word would be sung wrong, and by the end you were both laughing too much to continue. The song ended, and Cove reached over to start cycling through the radio stations again. Upon finding nothing tolerable, he flipped the dial off in defeat and leaned back in his seat with a sigh. You rested your head on your hand and stared out the window as the sky darkened, watching the landscape slowly melt into more familiar views. The miles went on, and any energy you had earlier was beginning to drain away. You imagined home and your family. You'd be there together. Soon. You know, I spent all these years living in Sunset Bird and taking a few weeks each summer visiting my mom in that second room. That's not gonna happen anymore. Not really.
I mean...
I can still see my parents, but the way it all works between us has changed. Forever. I know this feeling. So I actually stayed with my parents at my parents' house for a while after graduating for college, mostly because I was trying to save money. You know, I did have a job, and it was a very well-paid job. And it's very common in Filipino culture, and I think for Asians in general, but Filipino culture definitely, because we are a third world country and not everyone is super well off. So it is very common for the children in the family, to stay with their parents all like until they're married, or even while they're still married. They'll still stay with the parents because it's just way more cost effective, because they can't afford it otherwise. So all of these feelings of, oh, I can't wait till my kids are 18, or I can't wait till my kids are, graduate from college so I can like kick them out of the house. All these parents, it just seems like part of American culture, like shooing your kids out of the house. That never sat well with my parents, especially my mom. My mom never fully understood that because she loves having her kids around. And I honestly didn't mind. Like, I wasn't the kind of kid who felt, oh, I can't wait till I'm 18, or I can't wait till I graduate from college so I can leave my parents' house and live by my own rules. I was never that kind of a person, because for me, I felt like it was more important for me to save money and like build up what I can before I can go off on my own. So there was a time in my life where it made way more sense for me to move out, because the job that I found was pretty far away and my commute was like an hour each way, and it just wasn't very like realistic or sustainable for me to continue driving an hour back and forth, because again, I hate driving. I do not like sitting in traffic. I mean, nobody does, but for someone like myself in particular who doesn't really drive for pleasure at all and only drives for necessity, being stuck in a car 2 hours each day 5 days a week was just not realistic. And so I eventually did move out of my parents' house to live somewhere much closer to my job. And I remember breaking down crying. Like, I teared up crying because, again, very sentimental, emotional person that I am. Because I knew in that moment, everything changed. Like, I knew that it would never be the same. I was on my own now, and I was no longer under my parents' roofs, and I was no longer I was going to be on my own, really. I mean, I had a roommate. I lived with roommates. You're kidding me? Extrovert person like yourself? I would not be happy living by myself. I would need a roommate. Like, would not work with me being by myself. But yeah, like, I was not that kind of child who was excited, really. I mean, I was excited to a degree that I was beginning a new chapter in my life, but more so I was too, like, sad and emotional about realizing, I really am adulting right now. I'm no longer under my parents' roof, and I'm going off and not really like staying, like sleeping at my parents' house, really, hardly ever. Everything just changes. And, of course, everything changed again once I got married, and then everything changed again once I had children. And it's just what life is. Life is a bunch of different phases and chapters, and when one chapter ends, a new one begins. When one door closes, a new one begins. And there's so many great moments and so many memories that happen with each stage. And it's I can't just be like, this stage is better than that stage. It's because they're just different. They're just very different. Like, there are so many amazingly new things that are happening when our kids was born. There's amazing new things that's happening now that we've sold and bought a new house and are now in our quote-unquote forever home, which is where we're going to start a whole new chapter, because we're going to be here relatively permanently, at least until our kids are, like, grown themselves. So that's going to be a long time. So this is it's exciting that this is a fresh new beginning for me. And then, of course, there's going to be a fresh new beginning for me, another chapter for me when our daughter is born. So I get very emotional about these kind of things. So I totally get how Cove is feeling here. It says, I can still see my parents, but the way it all works between us has changed forever. And that, to me, would make me feel really kind of sad and emotional. He paused, the silent stretching. A serious look settled on his face, his thoughts far away. I'm excited to be on the brink of real adulthood. I'm worried about how things will be in the future. I feel the same about my parents too. You should lighten up. You said nothing. No, I feel the same about my parents too. I know they'll always be there for me, but we don't really have the same relationship we used to. Cove's mouth pulled into a tight line and he gave a small nod. You got the feeling that he understood how you felt. Cove stared straight ahead, down the long road. The path looked like it'd never end from where you were, but that wasn't true. Eventually he found a few more words to say.
I'm so glad.
I think it's good we were able to do this trip without any parents or chaperones. It was just us. We did it all. I don't know, I feel a little more independent now, a little more ready for what's ahead. Right, I felt ready for a while now. I'm not sure I'll ever be ready. You didn't respond to his conclusion. I'm gonna say right. It's like a real first step to be on our own all the time. It'll be here before we know it. The topic seemed to wear on Cove, and he made an attempt to find something else to speak on. So I'm kinda sad about getting back. I'm gonna miss having you right there tonight. He cleared his throat quietly, though said nothing more. You smiled to yourself a little at hearing him say something like that out loud. I'm gonna miss it too. And with the feelings confirmed as mutual, the two of you fell into a comfortable silence. The sky outside grew even darker as the hours passed by, the stars blinking on like tiny fireflies painted onto a canvas of blue. The scenery continued transitioning between open roads, industrial areas, and beach towns, becoming increasingly recognizable as time went on. You felt somewhat disconnected from the world around you as you watched it through your window, your tired mind growing hazy. It was a strange, reflective feeling, but peaceful nonetheless. Soon enough, the world would return to you, and you'd find your feet firmly on the ground. It couldn't be helped. The adventure would end, life could continue, but your memories would linger on. I was really surprised by how much this moment really hit me, like, at a very personal level. There were a bunch of beats there that really I would relate very directly with and really spoke to me, especially near the end there. So I think of the ones that we've done so far, Drive is surprisingly my favorite one. I didn't anticipate. Someone like me who does not like really to drive, so far the moment called Drive was my favorite one moment up to this point. That's very cool. Very surprisingly cool. Ooh, and welcome back to Our Life Beginnings and Always. It's been a while since I've recorded. A lot has happened since I last played this game. One major milestone is my new daughter was just born. She's not even 3 weeks yet, so that is super exciting, and I'm starting to come back to having some time, not a lot, but some time to continue playing these games and Let's Playing for you all. Our wonderful friend, who also is our au pair for the year, has been helping us a lot. I'm still a little sleep deprived, but it's helpful to help me get a little bit of a nap in during the day. The other major thing that has happened, which is not as big comparatively to my new child, my new daughter, is we bought a brand new house, which you can't really see because I've green screened everything. But just an FYI, the way that my house is set up, it's a great house, but my computer is in the basement and not in its own encased room. That's just for necessity in order to allow us to give the extra bedroom to our au pair. But that means that it's because there are no walls. There's no wall separating me from the rest of the house. You may hear some cries or some screeching or baby shark playing in the background a little bit. I'm hoping that it is not so loud that it distracts. Well, it does distract myself too much, but it also doesn't distract you all. So my apologies. There really is nothing I can do about it other than the other alternative would be I just stop Let's Playing, which I'm trying not to do. So hopefully you all understand and are cool with that. So let's continue on, and I'm curious about errands, what kind of errands we would be running. From the moment you woke up, you knew that today was going to be busier than usual. There was a list of errands that needed to be finished before the day was done. First up was visiting one of the biggest farmers markets in the area. It was only open 2 weekends a month during certain parts of the year. It was rare that you and your family were able to attend, so your moms liked to make the most out of every minute of it. And you realized it was not just them feeling that way when you heard a whistle from your left side. Wow, this is a swanky show. Vegetables have never seemed so highbrow. Seriously, they don't mess around with their products.
Isn't that great?
Isn't it exciting? Liz crossed her arms. You could tell she was amused. We couldn't have picked a more perfect trip. It's been too long since we had a true family outing. Her teasing tone said more than she actually did. Your next-door neighbors had joined you this day, and that's what made it a true family outing. The three parents laughed approvingly. Out of the corner of your eye, you caught Cove looking at you sympathetically. Some things never changed, and some jokes never died. You long accepted that. You were excited to check things out. You thought this trip might be fun. You shrugged, feeling indifferent. You felt uncomfortable. You were in a bad mood. This trip was a waste of your time. No, this trip might be fun. You smiled, trying to imagine how many stalls were set up. You were curious what hidden gems were waiting for you to discover among them. Well, I'm ready to get started. I got plenty of dishes in mind I could use ingredients for. Before your moms responded to that, they glanced at each other and smiled. I love a good farmer's market. Again, being as a foodie who loves to cook. Maybe not so much when I was this age, but I still appreciated it to some degree, especially the free samples, like the free cheese. I was all over the free cheese samples. But definitely now as an adult who does a lot more cooking, not only out of pleasure, but also out of necessity, and trying to get good quality ingredients, in addition to supporting your local farms, supporting your local businesses, is something that I am 100% all for. Before your moms responded to that, they glanced at each other and smiled. Yeah, that's a very good idea, Cliff. This place is much larger than it seems. It's difficult to visit each part in a single day.
I got it.
I'm sure we can make a decent dent together at least. Actually, since there's so many of us this time, we could take different sides of the market.
Sounds good.
Divide and conquer? That sounds brilliant. Everyone watched your mom surprised. No one had considered that an option, but your mom flashed the group a dazzling smile, continuing the thought. Though it's a little unfair that there are 4 Angel family members and only 2 Holdens here, so I'll go with you boys to even up the odds.
Okay.
That's fine with me. Cliff scratched the back of his neck and slowly met Cove's stare. They both seemed unconvinced, but weren't sure what to say about it. Don't worry, we'll be apart for only a few hours, and then we'll have something to talk about at the end of it. Father and son ultimately nodded, and this wasn't an argument they were going to win.
All
Alright, I don't get the point, but I also don't mind spending the first part of the trip with Fawn and Ma. Ma clapped her hands together at that. Wonderful, are the teams ready to go? Hey, I didn't agree to anything. Yeah, let's go. Can I be the one who goes with the Holdens instead? Oh, that would be interesting. You stayed silent. So it would be me, Liz, and my mom. I mean, I'm gonna ask. I don't think this is gonna happen, but I'm gonna ask if I could be the one to go with the Holdens because, I mean, I spend so much time with my sister and my mom. No offense to them, but if I had an opportunity to spend time with people that I don't get to see very often, well, I mean, I see the Holdens all the time. I shouldn't say that. But I probably would, my gut reaction would be, can I be the one who go with the Holdens instead? You looked at your mom, from your mom to your ma, hopeful that you'd at least get to explore the market with Cove. He perked up at the suggestion, but when you saw Ma was pounding at your request to leave her group. Sorry, no can do this time, kiddo. Fair enough, at least I tried. Seeing that neither parent was budging, you slumped your shoulders. We won't split up too long, right? Ma hooked an arm around you with a little side hug. You grinned.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Vaughn. Taking the lead, Mom walked over closely towards Cove and Cliff, who were still eyeing her confusedly.
Let's go.
Come on, boys, we're heading out. Sure. Okay. Cove looked at you softly and found himself pulled forward, stepping in front of you. His expression flickered for a moment, hesitant. Bye. See ya. Cove lightly took one of your hands in his and gave it a small squeeze. He dipped his face forward, wanting to kiss farewell. When instead he stopped midway, his whole body stiff. He jerked his gaze back at your mom, and you realized that she had grabbed the hem of his shirt. She gave it a small tug before letting go. Time's a wasting, Cove, and I've known you long enough to be aware that you're one to linger. If I don't stop you now, you'll only drag your feet on parting ways more. I can see that. The two of you can snuggle and make out as much as you want later. We have important shopping to do now. Cove gasped at what he felt was a truly obscene thing to say. His face burned red, but that was ignored by him. He spoke with an unimpressed roll of the eyes.
Seriously?
You don't need to literally pull me away from Vaughn. I'm not that clingy. Mom sniggered with a shake at her head. Cove's eyebrows raised over the reaction, and he turned to Ma. She wouldn't meet his eye as she whistled innocently. Liz smirked ear to ear, and Cove whipped his head towards his dad. Mr. Holden couldn't offer anything more than an apologetic shrug. It was only then that it dawned on Cove that everyone did think that he was that needy. Finally, he dared to face you with wide, pleading eyes. Don't make fun of Cove. Who said you were allowed to say things like that to him? Cove is totally capable of being independent when he wants to be. There's nothing wrong with being attached. It's nice. For me, no. For me, okay. Attached versus clingy. I'm fine with attached. Clingy is no. For me, personally, it doesn't work. Which is why my husband and I work very well, because we're not clingy people at all. We enjoy being together, but we also really enjoy our independent time too. Appreciate it a lot, and we respect each other's independent time. Oh, come on, Cove, you know how it is. Suddenly stared back at him. I'm gonna say is Cove is totally capable of being independent when he wants to be. Because I wouldn't say this. I wouldn't say like this stuff, necessarily. You spoke very matter-of-fact and fixed a stern gaze on the group. Cove meanwhile beamed at having your support. Without thinking, Cove took another step forward, feeling drawn to you. Also again, Mom grabbed the back of his shirt. She tried suppressing her laughter, but a few chuckles escaped. Actions speak louder than words. Cove's mouth twisted as he struggled to come up with something to say in his defense. He was newly embarrassed all over again. Yeah, well... So what? That admission had Liz, your mom's, and his dad bursting into laughter. Cove grimaced and walked several steps from the group before stopping. He clearly wanted to move on, so much that he was physically moving away. You mean he clearly wanted to move on. Vaughn. Yes. You smiled softly and waved goodbye when he noticed Cove's mouth pulled open into a bent smile of his own, and he seemed to feel better a bit.
See you later.
See you in a few hours. Take care of yourselves. At that, Mom picked a direction and sent it to the market with Mr. Holden and Cove following behind her. Grinning, Moss sent them off with a big wave. Liz gave a daintier goodbye wave herself. To be fair, even though in real life, in the game, I would be spending a lot of time with my family at home, as far as the game is concerned, all of these scenes are mostly involving Cove and even Mr. Holden. So, in a way, it's nice to be able to spend some time with both Liz and Ma, because in the game, during all the moments, we don't have as many Liz and Ma moments, like directly with Vaughn, versus the Cove moments, at least. Despite the change in plans, you were so glad to be there. You felt like the change in plans was a good idea. You felt sure about it. You had been happy, now you were annoyed. That definitely put a damper on your good mood. You felt like the change in plans was a good idea. Yeah, I mean, I'm cool. I was not gonna put up a fight about it. It was more of a request, but if it wasn't, like, if the request was denied, it was not a big deal. Like, it'd be fine. Altogether, there were 6 of you, so you could already imagine how long it would have taken to go through even a fraction of the stalls. Smiling, you look forward to spending some quality time with Ma and Liz. Like, I'm actually perfectly cool going around Farmer's Market by myself, honestly. I don't need to go as a group, but a group is still fun. When they... I don't know if you can hear, there's my daughter crying now. When they were gone, Ma cheerily turned towards you and Liz. She put her hands on her hips. Do you think there'll be any nice ginger around here? I like me some nice gingers. Anyone who's been on my channel knows I appreciate some nice gingers up in here. We'll have to find out. Again was reminded that Liz is a ginger too. United in agreement, keen to truly get the trip going, Ma led you both into the busy market. Some time had passed browsing. There were only a few stalls you stopped at. You had fun, chatting and laughing, pointing out various things to Ma and Liz, and vice versa. At one point, Ma stopped suddenly. She put a hand on her belly and gave a half-hearted smile. I think I should have used the bathroom before we left home like the two of you responsibly did. Just need to pee?
Yes.
Yes, Liz. I'll have to visit the ladies' room now. Should we wait here? Should Liz and I go without you? Should we all go with you? Should we wait here? Ma craned forward as she struggled to pinpoint the direction she needed to go. She gently brushed her comment away. There's no need to worry about me for this, or waste time standing around. Keep on shopping. Though, actually, I might need help finding my way. Can you please come, Lizzie? You and your sister had to share a look over that. Why do that of all things?
Hey!
Ma, if anyone should go anywhere on their own, shouldn't it be you? You're the one needing a detour, and you're the parent here. Ma giggled and fazed by the resistance. Liz, meanwhile, tipped the brow of her hat, watching Ma skeptically. Soon enough, Vaughn will have to handle doing these kinds of errands on his own. This makes a good practice. What? Ma hooked an arm around Liz's and pulled her along.
Have fun.
Have fun. We'll find each other again later. Excuse me? Bye. Wait, you waved. You tried following after them. You stood there stunned. No, like I said, I'm cool with going around a farmer's market on my own. So I'll be like... No, I probably would say bye. You've tried following after them. Bye. It was all you could mutter as Ma and Liz waded through the crowd. They were out of sight with moments, and what started as a group outing rapidly became you, entirely on your own. And you were overwhelmed. Heck no. You thought, screw them. No. You were done with this whole trip. You felt great being left on your own. You thought Ma was being ridiculous, but you don't really mind. You didn't know what to think. None of these really fit. I wasn't overwhelmed. I wouldn't think screw them. I was definitely not done with this whole trip. I wouldn't say I felt great being left on my own, because I'm indifferent. That's the thing, I'm indifferent. You thought Ma was being ridiculous, but you didn't really mind. You didn't know what to think. I mean, this is the closest to indifferent. I didn't know what to think, because there was nothing to think about. I'm by myself. Sure, why not? You still couldn't believe Ma just did that. There wasn't a single doubt in your mind that she had some ulterior motives, but for now you had to figure out what to do next. No, but I don't like that response. That's not what I meant. How about you felt great being left on your own? Ma thought to surprise you with this, but it was freeing. This is a time to do it, and as any to do things at your own pace. I feel like that is better, even though I wouldn't saying that I was ecstatic that I'm by myself is not accurate, but this is the closest response. You walked off on your own. You found a place to sit where you were left. No, I'm not gonna be sitting, I'm gonna explore. You texted Cove to meet you up. No, I'm not gonna text Cove. I'm sticking to the plan. I'm gonna walk off on my own and explore. Resigned to your fate, you picked up where you left off, browsing the stalls. One hooked your attention. Ooh. While most stalls were selling various garden-grown foods, this one had an array of homemade fudge. Yes, I absolutely adore fudge. And look at these flavors. Toffee, chocolate white peppermint, maple walnut, that's one of my go-tos. Red velvet, that looks awesome. I can't read this one very well. Is that lemon fudge? Can't read it. Chocolate peanut butter, yum. Caramel, cookies and cream, also something that is my go-to. White chocolate, dark chocolate, milk chocolate, and dark chocolate mint. There were even vegan versions of every option. I would definitely be buying some fudge here. You got closer to the stall, but soon your gaze drifted elsewhere. No. You sidestepped past a few other people and got yourself right in front of the counter for a better look. There was a wide spread, dozens and dozens of delicately cut squares of decadence. The owner smiled and approached you to explain their shop. The fudge is sold in boxes of 4 pieces. They either can be all the same, all different, or any mix you like. Are you looking to buy any today? That's interesting. Normally when I buy fudge, they're by the pound. They're not by pieces, because I think if you do it by the pound, then you're guaranteed to have a consistent amount. Whereas pieces, they could be cut differently, and one might be smaller than the others. Normally they sell it by the pound, not by the pieces, but we'll see. You didn't want to get any. You wanted to get yourself a box. You wanted to get a box to share with everyone. You wanted to get a box just for Cove. No, I want to get a box to share with everyone. The whole selection was too good not to share. You wanted to get yourself a box. You wanted to get a box just for Cove, and that was all. I'm going to get a box for myself. Your mind was already filling with thoughts of sinking your teeth into the delicious fudge. There was no walking away empty-handed now. And one for Cove. Looking at the treats made you think of Cove. You grinned, hoping he liked what you picked out. And that was all. I am loading up 4 4-piece boxes. Yeah, I could use some fudge. I'm glad you came to the right place then. For yourself, you picked... Oh my gosh, key lime! Yes! See, that is the most interesting one, and I love citrus. I love citrus desserts, all types. There's just something about a good citrus dessert that's just mwah. So I'm gonna get myself some key lime. And I'm getting myself a sampler. And, I mean, peanut butter is where it's at, but also maple walnut. And chocolate peanut butter. And chocolate toffee also sounds really good. Red velvet is really good too. Actually, I'm gonna do, hold on. For yourself, I picked key lime and red velvet and maple walnut, and because I mean chocolate peanut butter I can get a lot. Red velvet fudge is really unique. I don't see that often. Maple walnut isn't that unique, but I just love maple and walnut together. So my last one is going to be chocolate toffee because I just love toffee. Cookies and cream are great, but I can get that in most other places. Chocolate toffee. For the group, you picked also red velvet and let's see, caramel swirl and key lime and let's do chocolate toffee. For Cove, you picked cookies and cream. He seems like a cookies and cream kind of guy. Milk chocolate. He seems like a milk chocolate kind of guy. Dark chocolate milk, mint, and